Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of A New Go of New Home Sales. I'm your host, Anya Chrysanthon, and joining me today is a dear friend of mine, Keith McKinney with New Home Star. Welcome to the show, Keith.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here with the infamous Anya. Are you kidding me?
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you on as well. I can't believe that we haven't had you on to this day. So we're just coming up on the year of our podcast.
Yeah.
So perfect timing.
Well, it's an honor to be here. I've just been a long-time listener for the whole year, and just so excited when we talked about me coming on and joining you. I was like, couldn't have been more elated.
Before we jump into things, why don't we give our listeners a little bit of a backstory on who you are? We'd love to hear your journey, how you got into new home sales, and what you guys do as a company.
Yeah, so before new home sales, I was in education. I was a marketing teacher at a business college and at a high school district in Dallas, Fort Worth. And then somebody introduced me to a division president of a home building company. And 1 month later, I was in a model home selling houses. So started my career in 2001 in Dallas, Fort Worth, and with the same builder, and had great managers and mentors that led me along the way, gave me some great opportunities. And every time they cracked that door, I just kicked the door wide open and took full advantage of it and kind of worked my way through the proverbial ladder and into sales management. And then had an opportunity to meet Dave Rice, founder of New Home Star, in 2008, early 2008. Right after the market decided to take that proverbial left-hand turn. And after a couple of meetings, there was just something in my gut, in my spirit, that said that was the move and the thing I needed to do. And I picked my family up and we moved to Colorado Springs, where I started the second division. Our first division of New Home Star was started by Dave in Chicago, and then I helped start the second division of New Home Star in Colorado Springs, which is still a thriving division today. So, and I started with Dave and New Home Star in 2008. And I remember the first year we were high-fiving because we sold 80 homes and we were like, man, we're really doing something. And this year we'll sell over 5,000. So needless to say, we're very fortunate and went through a lot of ups and downs, but man, the wins in our sales right now. So we couldn't be more excited.
Very cool. I personally didn't know your story, so it's always interesting to hear how people get into those things. It's never like, oh, I wanted to be in new home sales my whole life, you know?
Yeah, no, there was none of that. Like nobody in my family. I'm a military brat. My dad was like, I don't even think they let you do this anymore. He triple dipped into the Air Force, where he retired, went back and retired again, and then went back. So, I was just taught, maybe that's kind of been the thing that followed me. You show up to work, do your job well, and then somebody's going to pay attention and they'll move you up in rank. And as you keep going up in rank, you get more responsibility, and it's your job to bring up other people up underneath you and bring them along for the ride. And so I think that's what's helped grow New Home Star as the people business that we have, where our number one core value is excellent careers for our people. And I mean, that's kind of the driving force of who we are and what we do.
So when you say you guys sold 80 homes in 2008 to now 5,000 homes in 2022, when you say we sell homes, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I think some of our listeners may not be familiar with what New Home Star does.
Yeah, so our business model, our core business model, is we're an outsourcing solution for home builders and developers. And so what they'll do is they will literally outsource the sales function to us. And so for clarity, literally they are taking all of their sales overheads, all their salaries, their fixed costs related to sales, and that will now become the responsibility of New Home Star. We operate hire, train, and carry the new home salespeople. But all the while, the new home salespeople sitting in the model homes has the same look and feel as if it's an in-house team. So we represent builders all over the nation, over 18 builders now in 24 different states and over 40 different markets now. And so when you walk in one of the model homes where one of our agents are, you would never know it. You will never know it because they carry the business card of the builder, where the builder's name tag sends emails from the builder server. But all the while, that agent is receiving their daily care and training and management and functionality from New Homestar as a company. And so we found it works great because it allows builders to do what they love to do and focus on that 100%. And that's build houses and get involved with the bricks and the sticks and the permitting and all the things that have been wheels off the bus for them in the past 24 months, and lets them focus on the things that they know how to do well, and then allows us to focus on the things we know how to do well. And that's really all the things related to sales performance at the community level.
Really cool. And I know you guys have also introduced a new offering with OSC, so online sales counselor. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So our sweet spot is we tend to work with private builders where the owner started the company and it's grown to this massive thing. And sometimes they don't have the sophistication of the big public builders and the access to capital dollars for a lot of those sales functions. So we like to believe we bring that sophistication to them at a rate that is comfortable for them and allows them to take their trajectory, and it allows them to expand. And so with that, we had a lot of our private builders didn't have an OSC team, or they just had one person. And one person can only work 40 hours. So what I know at Anugo is that, like, if you're only going to answer a chat or answer a phone from 9 to 5, well, people at work at 9 to 5, who's answering the phone from 5 to 9 when people are at home and they really are online looking at houses? So we started, for our own internal clients, we started offering an OSC service where we provided over 14-hour coverage from 8 to 8, 12 to 14-hour coverage, depending on the time zone. And so that way we could capture more sales and capture more conversion. Mm-hmm. And what that has morphed into is today, Anya, that we are now offering our OSC services as a standalone service to any builder who needs an OSC solution. So yeah, we are expanding in that way too. We continue to grow.
Well, congratulations. That's so exciting to hear. And I'm sure with the volume of phone calls that builders have been receiving over the last 2 years. I mean, this year's been kind of a crazy year now. They were, I'm sure, scrambling to figure out a solution to make sure that their customers are well taken care of. So with this OSC model, it is a remote model, if I'm correct, right? So
Yes.
The people are not necessarily sitting in the model home of a builder, but they are remote. So can you talk through that, some of the logistics? Because I know there's some who very much believe that in order to have a cohesive team, the OSC must be part of that team. They must be present on site. So what have you found with your experience so far?
Yeah, like I would tell you, there's not we don't like to talk about it, but there was a couple of silver linings through everything that happened in 2020. And it made the world quickly embrace what we're doing right now, the teleconferencing and the personalization over the Wi-Fi waves. And we were able to maximize that with our OSC team. So our OSC team, when they are assigned a builder, they literally are dedicated to that builder. So they become part of that sales team and become part of that solution, albeit remotely. They still are part of it, whether they participate in the sales meetings. When new product comes out, they're part of those meetings. And so, no, they are clued in. They learned all the builders' plans, the builder story. like all the USPs of that builder and get to really know how that builder builds homes. So that way they can talk educatedly about what the customer is going to experience when they take that call from the customer from the internet. So it is a dedicated model, not just a random call center where somebody's just capturing a call and then passing them on. And I'm so proud of this fact. When we say excellent careers for our people, 95%, Anya, of our OSC team were former new home salespeople out in the model. And what happened is we have a lot of people on the OSC team where life just happened differently. We have one young lady where she had a baby and realized that, you know, going back into model maybe wasn't going to be perfect for her. She was able to transition to the OSC team. And so we have trained new home sales professionals who are now OSC folks who understand the sales funnel and the critical path of sales. And we just make them dedicated to a builder, and the builders are loving it. They love it.
Yeah. So what I love about that is that it's not necessarily like a call center type of situation where you're calling in and it's a random person picking up the call. So you have a dedicated OSC for the specific builder. So they are really part of that team. And as we all know, remote work environment certainly works, especially when you do integrate them into those sales meetings, the sales calls, you make them feel like truly part of the team. So that's huge. And I can imagine that the last year with how quickly the market shifted and we went from, you know, handling all this crazy inquiries from people and we couldn't help them fast enough to kind of crickets in a lot of different markets.
Yeah.
So I imagine that home builders who utilize your service are probably in a really good position to be able to quickly adjust and pivot, right? Pivot's been the word of 2022, where, hey, how many salespeople do I need on staff? Is it 10 people or do I only need 5 people now? And with your resources, it seems like it's almost like interchangeable, where salespeople to OSC, you're able to shift that so on the fly for them that, especially for smaller builders, I mean, I can't even imagine the headache of like, oh, I need to expand my team to hire somebody, the interview process, not to mention the training. I mean, ongoing training alone is probably a fortune, where you guys provide that ongoing training as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And you said a critical piece, like the private builders we work with, they're rather large and they're very progressive and they're looking for new markets to expand into. Well, what's one of the biggest hindrance, biggest worries for a business home builder when they want to go into a new market? Well, am I going to have the sales to do it? Like they like, okay, I got to go hire a sales manager. Oh, I don't know anything about the sales team there. Who am I going to find? And the fact that like we take that responsibility for them, and we have an entire recruiting team, we have an entire recruiting arm. Every time we post an ad for a salesperson, we get an average on 300 resumes per week for every posting that we make. And so we have a recruiting team that shifts through that and brings out the best candidates to our sales directors so that way they can make educated, really good decisions on people. So we have our private builders. We've watched our builders be able to grow and grow their business beyond their current borders, because it was a little bit of a barrier for them to think about it beforehand. But because now they had this all of a little bit more available liquid funds to go buy land, because sales are not on their books. And then now they know they have this professional, sophisticated sales organization at their arm on their right hand. It allows them to think outside the box and go across the borders and grow. And we've been able to be fortunate to grow with all of our partners, and it's been great.
That's amazing. And so I can imagine the vice versa shifting if they're not seeing the sales they're hoping for and suddenly they need to downsize. I mean, that can be, again, dramatic for if you have all those in-house people versus you guys are able to reshift those resources,
Exactly.
not necessarily lay somebody off, but maybe shift them to another market, another builder.
Yeah. And that happens all the time. We have agents where life happens. Like we have agents that got married, husband got a new job from Oregon all the way to Florida. Guess what? We were able to transfer her to another new home star division, different builder, but she knew the training, she knew everything, showed up and is doing fantastic in her new division. So that like the ability we have for that when a builder has maybe their land gap, the land's not coming as quickly as they thought. And instead of them saying, oh my God, I'm going to lose this person, we might have other things we can have that salesperson do, whether it's go to the OSC team and vice versa. So it just gives us a different way of managing our salespeople and providing for them a great career and helping everybody kind of push forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's interesting that you mentioned that you used to be a teacher. So I can totally see that because you're such a caring person and you really, I can feel the passion from, when you talk about what you do and how much you care about the people. So it totally makes sense that you have that like teacher student relationship. So I know that training is super important when it comes to developing talent. And, just because you hire somebody great and maybe they're trained to start things off and get things going, that's awesome. But as market conditions shift, even, sometimes even if the market is great, we all need additional training for different situations. So I know you recently rolled out some unbelievable technology that allows your salespeople to stay on top of training right when they're in the sales center. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, one of the early things that Dave Rice, the founder of New Home Star, saw is that his business model was going to grow, but it wasn't going to grow like in just one market. Like when the phone rang, and it could have been a builder in Iowa or a builder over in California, when the phone rang and you're trying to grow a business, you got to kind of answer the call to where the business is. So he immediately saw that we were going to stretch out and not go vertical in terms of growth. And so he was so proactive in his thinking of, okay, how are we going to, like, running around all over the country trying to train people in person was going to be difficult. So how could we use something that delivers training on a platform on a daily basis? And what's cool is Dave Rice started in the model. I started in a model. Almost all of our executives have started on a model home. So we know what salespeople do during the week, and there's some free time in there. They try to say that there isn't, but there's some free time in there where at least for several hours a week where there's some filler time. And so we're saying, okay, if we could fill that time with sales training, how would we do it? And Dave came up with this idea, and we call it New Home Connect. And it is a sales management platform that allows us to deliver on-time, real-time training, as well as collaboration and peer learning opportunities, and for everybody to learn at the same time. And through this platform, like if we see something turning, we and you could shoot a video right now at the tail end of this podcast, and it could be up and live by Monday morning. And that's how fast we can deliver training, but not just in one place. We can have that posted with a quiz, by the way, to make sure they absorb the material. And we can make sure every agent at New Home Star from Oregon all the way to Texas receives that training. So we're rolling it out at IBS, where it's an independent standalone platform where builders who have their own teams and their own sales manager. You and I both know some fantastic sales managers out there, some fantastic trainers who are running great sales teams, but they're running the sales teams of 25 and 30, and there's no way for them to get to all of them in a week. And so how do they deliver training when you're overseeing that big of a body of people? And we're going to make this platform available to builders independently. So yeah, we're really excited about it.
I love that, especially with how quickly things shift and change. it's, 1 minute you need this, and next minute you need that. And that trend can start so fast, especially with rising interest rates. Like, how do I overcome this? And I'm sure you
Right.
probably hear a lot of feedback from your field, right? If somebody can reach out to you and say, hey, I keep hearing this objection, and it's like, oh, that's a great topic to shoot a video on. Let's get that out to the rest of the country, because I'm sure they're going to be hearing similar objections. And how do we overcome that in real time, as opposed to like waiting months and months and months?
Yeah. Yeah. One of the biggest, I was saying, one of the biggest things I'm proud of about that platform when COVID happened, and like, I still remember like the 3 days when everybody was told to go home.
Yeah.
And like, of course, we said, okay, we have to learn. Like, we know we had a few salespeople that were good at technology, but we were like, uh, what are our sales, like, do our salespeople know how to sell virtually from home using all the tools, Google Earth and the Matterport and 360 tours? And like, do they know how to put people on Zoom and share screen and all? Like, so we literally in 1 week, we shot over 50 videos, how-to videos for new home salespeople on how to sell virtually, how to do welcome over Zoom, how to do discovery and ask the right questions, what to look for, and like, how do you demonstrate a floor plan using the 360 tour and share your screen. So, and we did that all in a week. We had it posted within 10 days after COVID told everybody to go home.
Wow,
So
that's amazing.
yeah, so that's how real time, like, this platform allows us to be so so flexible and so fluid, to be able to go with what the market is telling us and be able to deliver that training that salespeople need. So yeah, we're excited about it. You can tell I can talk about it all day.
So speaking of where the market is going, let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about 22, because obviously, as we're shooting today's episode, we're a couple days away from Christmas and the new year, and welcoming 2023. So let's talk about some of the trends and challenges that you guys saw in 2022, and what are some of the predictions and some opportunities, or what you're going to be looking forward to in 2023. So let's start with 2022. Obviously, it was a year of, again, pivot. We went
Yes.
from crazy to suddenly things changed, and as things started to change, they changed very, very quickly. So that's interesting perspective from you, because you guys are, as you said, in 24 states, 40 different markets. So you probably saw this change happen, not necessarily overnight for every single location, but how
Yeah.
was it different? Can you talk to kind of the geography of where you guys are located and how different markets were affected for 2022? I'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah. So and I'm sorry to my brothers and sisters in the Boise, Idaho area, but I'm going to use that market as that. If I could tell you there was one market in the nation that was a beacon and a huge indicator of what was happening across the nation, it was Boise, Idaho. Because Boise, Idaho, if you had read all the articles out of Builder Magazine and in NAHB, it was hot like pancakes off the griddle, like literally from from 2018 to like 2021, like Boise, Idaho was booming in every direction, in every way possible. And in 2022, right around June, literally somebody went to the faucet and turned it off. And that was the biggest moment of, okay, something really is about to happen. And so I think what we saw was all the people that salespeople had put in backlog. You had new home salespeople with huge backlogs, and now builders with all the supply chain issues were struggling to close all of these homes. And so I think you and I started talking about this a while back. Product delivery started slowing down, and when product delivery slows down, consumer confidence in new home sales starts to slow down as well. And so there was a less availability of inventory homes, and building a home was taking longer and longer to go to completion. So the combination of those two alone normally slows us down. And then you had in June, the feds deciding, oh, we're going to play catch up. And so all of that started happening all at the same time. And that made for the third quarter to look really shaky across the nation for builders everywhere. And I'd say in the fourth quarter, I've had a lot of new home salespeople. I won't name them, but a lot of industry-led new home salespeople who are extremely successful calling me saying, hey, you know what's going on out here? I'm tired of selling the same house 5 times because the product delivery was taking so long. Customers were cancellation, so cancellation rates went up. And so the public, of course, it was spun to the public. Oh, we have inventory, but not a lot of people knew that inventory is just inventory from cancellations, and that we're trying to resell it. So I will tell you, a lot of our job as managers, Anya, we spent a lot of time really hand holding our sales associates and guiding them through, because they were on the front line of defense, and a lot of time they were taking the arrows from the consumer of all the displeasure and just the frustration and the process because of the supply chain issues and everything like that. So handling difficult customers and handling restless customers really became top of our training modules at the end of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. So yeah, so that was really what we experienced and had to brace for in 2022. The good news is in 2023, from looking at our builder projections, there's a lot of closings scheduled for the first quarter of 2023. Yeah, they should have happened in 2022, but better late than never. So there's a lot of closings that's going to happen. That's going to free up a lot of builder capital, because like I said, we work with a lot of private guys, so they have their capital lines of credit. And so that's going to free up a bunch of capital money and allow the train to get back on the track again, to where they're making land deals and securing land deals and ready to start putting inventory back on the ground, new inventory on the ground, and getting the train back running again.
Yeah, Keith, you're so right. I think that for 2022, that restless customer was a big challenge, because so many people wanted to still get into the homes, but it was taking so long. And as we know, if I'm not getting whatever I ordered right away, you start to second guess, like, did I make the right decision? Or, there's that house down the street that's a used house that's available right now, just popped up. Maybe we should go look at that. So yeah, it is very important to make sure that you're constantly reaching out to that backlog, that you're constantly touching them, you're constantly reassuring them, you're keeping them excited. And that is where a lot of salespeople, of course, drop the ball, because, traditionally we're like, hey, sign a contract. And once you sign it, like, goodbye, nowhere to be seen. So that's really great that you guys are spending time coaching your people through that backlog process. Now, 2022, I think it's going to be, after all said and done, I think they're projecting 4.5 million homes sold, which is, I think it's like a 2008 equivalent. So it's like, how do we go from this to this? And next year, I think, again, we have so many different projections, but I think overall they're saying that they're probably going to sell less homes than this year. So when you're preparing your salespeople for next year, what are some of those conversations that you're having? I can imagine that prospecting probably is at the forefront of it all, because you really got to be a hunter in this climate.
Yeah, the demand for housing is still there. The demand for housing is just hidden because people are staying in their homes because all the reasons of 2022 have scared them from going out and looking. So we're telling our salespeople, like, in 2023, you're going to have to, you are correct. You're going to have to go, you can't sit and wait
Mhm.
for those people to come to your door. So you need to figure out who is the person who is the person who's supposed to be walking in your door. Is it a family? Is it a single couple? Are you selling urban townhomes downtown? And so you need to go find young professionals. Like, whoever it is that's supposed to be walking in your door, you're going to have to go to functions and go hang out where they hang out and bring them to your model. So, like, this is where marketing, community level marketing, is going to be so key for new home sales professionals in 2023, because the demand for housing is at probably, Anya, at its highest level,
Absolutely.
because everybody pulled back, but that didn't make their desire for a new home go away. So the
Mhm.
demand for housing is going to be at its highest levels, but they won't be out canvassing the sidewalks in our model homes right away. So our agents in our industry are going to have to do the work and be prepared to go prospect and get out and go be where they are and tell them about the great things that's happening in their community and bring them back.
Yeah, and so traditionally, I think the resales have been our number one competitor when it comes to new home sales, because it's typically the decision, right? Do I buy that house down the street or do I buy a new home? But I think going forward in 2023, renting is going to be the new competition for us, because so many people are feeling like they can't necessarily afford to buy with current interest
Right.
rates, or they can afford to sell because, hey, if I sell, I need to buy something, but I can't afford to buy at this interest rate. So I think renter is what you got to go after, and really, make sure you have great talking points on why is it still a great time to buy a home versus renting a home. Because I'm sure in the renting community, they're going to be throwing out all types of crazy incentives at them, free rent for X amount of
Yeah.
months and all that stuff, and a lot of renting benefits are similar to new home, right? It's low maintenance, it's that lifestyle that a lot of people are looking for. So you really got to be prepared to sell against renting. Now, Keith, you touched a little bit upon your ideal customer profile, that it's mostly private builders. Can we talk a little bit more about that? So when you work, you mentioned you have 18 builders or so that you're currently working with. Like, what is the size typically that works really well with this service? Like, if I'm a builder and I'm thinking, hey, I've traditionally used maybe real estate agents to sell my homes.
Right.
Now I'm thinking, do I hire somebody or do I go this route? So talk to us a little bit more of like who fits into that category, like how many homes a year I'm selling that I would be perfect customer for
Yeah,
this.
we find typically that a builder doing 200 units or more per year is normally a sweet spot in terms of the level of operations, to where an outsourcing partnership with New Homestar makes the most sense. Now, there is a caveat where occasionally we have a home builder that's in a particular market where maybe they do 100 homes, but their average sales price is of the product they deliver is at a much higher average sales price. So sales volume wise, it still equates and it's still worth a conversation. But
Mhm.
typically, the builder that's doing 100 units or more tends to be the operational scale to where all the numbers and everything makes sense.
Mhm. Makes sense. Okay. And then as far as like all the stuff that I need for sales, CRM, is that something that New Home Star provides, or is that something that I need to have in-house as a builder?
Once we partner with a builder, one of the first things we do is we sit down and look at their current sales operations and see where there are holes. And if there are holes that they are looking for solutions for, we have been working diligently to make sure that we can fill those gaps wherever we can.
Mhm.
Especially when you deal with private builders, because some private builders are really passionate and skilled in this area, but they really haven't dedicated a lot of time to this area. So we have our own internal Star marketing department. And so we have our own marketing. So whenever we deal with a private builder that, really hasn't got their collateral together, they need help designing their community signage. And when salespeople need to put flyers together, normally they send that to a graphic designer who doesn't know anything about new home sales or something like that. So then we talk to them about how our Star marketing department could help them to be part of the solution. And then so that's one way. Sometimes they have a community that they've held on to and they haven't been able to figure out how to price it. Like they don't know how to position it. We have a research department that can come in and do complete a research dossier on that community. And then we could give them a report that tells them, this is how you should be positioned. Here's the products you should have on the ground. Here's your model home, what you should have, and give them that kind of intel. So we really sit down with as an individual approach and really see what they need to complete the entire sales function. And we're over the years, we've been able to add enough resources to New Home Star to where we can provide whatever the builder needs. And trust me, we're still learning. And when we find there's something that the builder doesn't have that we need, that we could sell more homes, we'll go put it together quickly.
Yeah, makes sense. I didn't realize you guys also do some of the marketing,
Yeah.
which is huge. So, Keith, if somebody wants to learn more about New Home Star and all the services that you guys provide, what's the best way to learn more about you?
Oh my gosh, the best way to learn about us is our IT guys have done fantastic with our website. So if you go to www.newhomestar.com, there is the first screen will ask you, I am a builder or I am a job seeker. And so if you hit I am a builder, that site has been designed specifically for you to give you some answers to any of your questions. And of course, it has some contact information that you can put in. We have people answering that line, just like our OSC team. We have people answering that line every day. And sometimes I answer myself or Dave Rice himself will answer. From the top down, we're still in it to win it. And everybody is pulling their part of the string to make sure we're run as tight as possible.
Very cool. And for you personally, Keith, where do you hang out on social media? If somebody wants to connect with you, what's the best place for that?
If you want to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/Keith McKinney will get you straight to me. I used to say this before Deion Sanders. If you go to LinkedIn, type in Keith McKinney, I ain't hard to find. So you can find me.
Perfect. And so Keith, you and I just saw each other recently in person at the Housing Transformation Summit in Seattle, which was great to see you. Some awesome karaoke that we did. So next
you wasn't
thing,
supposed to say that, Anya, but okay, yeah.
that was a business meeting.
Yes,
So.
okay, agreed.
So for the next thing, I know you're going to be at the International Builder Show, right?
Absolutely. And we will have a booth. We will have a booth at the International Builder Show. We will be giving live demos of our technology. So any builder, marketing person interested in learning more, yep, come find us. We'll be there, bells on. And yeah, I can't wait to see you. And you'll be on stage for a few sessions. And I'll make sure I sneak into the room and make sure I see you there as well.
Perfect. So Keith, is there anything that I didn't ask you? Is there anything that you want our listeners to know before we say goodbye to each other?
I would just tell our listeners that our new home industry is in a unique position to be a guiding light in 2023 in the entire housing industry. If you talk to most realtors, the homes that are available on resale, the very good looking ones get snatched up like this, and everything that's left, not so much. And so the demand is so high, it's going to drive a lot of people to look at new homes. So we just have to be ready. we have to be ready. And because this still has the markings, like we get a bunch of these closings done that all builders are hoping to get done, it's going to make the second, third, and fourth quarter really, really good.
Good. Well, I am certainly sitting on the edge of my seat, watching what's going to happen in 2023. And again, as you say, I echo the same beliefs that we can definitely lead this industry out of it. We are very strongly positioned, and as soon as the Fed starts to ease up on the interest rate paddle, I think we are definitely ready to go full force. And if anything, 2020 taught us, 2021, is that we're definitely prepared to handle the unexpected. So Keith, it was so great to have you on a podcast. I am so excited to have you on today. And thank you so much for sharing all of the information. I think there's so many builders out there who can benefit from your service, from whether you're looking to hire a new home salesperson on site, whether you're looking for that OSC coverage, which we know we need. Most builders still don't have OSCs, or if you need some help with your marketing, be sure to reach out to Keith and check out newhomestar.com for all the information. And I'll be sure to link all of that in the show notes. And thank you so much for being here today. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and see you in Vegas.
Yep. Merry Christmas to you and everybody.
Bye, guys.